You're in the rant wormhole where I rant about whatever my $15 a month patrons want me to rant about. You can get a rant by becoming one of those people. This one is for Gary Hackett, who says to rant about the military, specifically the military as a career option for the current generation and the role of our military in its culture and our society. Personally, I don't know how much of this is a consequence of the way I was raised. I have little interest in or really respect for the military as an organization. A lot of my friends joined the military because I lived in a military town. Virginia Beach is a place with bases, pretty much for like every branch somewhere in the Hampton Roads region, and the main reason that my friends would join the military is that they didn't have anything else they wanted to do with themselves. Nobody I know who has joined the military has done so because they felt some sincere passion for the idea of, like, protecting the country or whatever. It's literally just they turned 18, they needed a job, none of the jobs that they were getting around town were good enough. They felt like they were trapped in their situation, that, like, they had no particular ambition, no idea what to do with their lives, so they went, fuck it, the military pays well, takes care of your housing, will take care of your family. There's a lot of benefits to it. But then they join up, and of course the same story from everybody I've ever known in the military is, it fucking sucks. Everybody hates it. Nobody likes being in the military, except for weird people, because the military is basically you getting screamed at by hardasses and forced to live in, like, the most authoritarian circumstances imaginable, and most of it's boring. Most of it is downtime. Like, it's not like you're going out and fighting wars all the time. Like, mostly you're sitting around in barracks waiting for orders and then doing boring shit and just living a very controlled life. So it's basically, I consider it just a trap for young people. Like, it's just a way to make a bunch of pretty sounding promises to an 18-year-old and then get them stuck in a contract of a job that they can't leave for years, and force them to do a bunch of dumb bullshit, and then leave it going, well, that fucking sucked. Like, at least they get long-term benefits from it. Like, the promises are largely upheld, but at the same time, our country doesn't do a good job of taking care of its veterans. Like, that's always been a thing that comes up in talking points. So, like, at the end of the day, I really think of it as a racket. I think of it as being like joining the Yakuza. It's like they promise you, oh yeah, you're gonna get all these benefits, but then you're working a shitty job and being around largely, like, you have to consider that if everyone in the military is somebody who joined it for reasons like that, you've got a whole lot of just out of control people, like people who don't have, like, people with a lot of emotional issues and people who are, like, not necessarily on all the way. Like, everything I hear from the military is horror stories about all the fucking weirdos that you encounter in the military, and a lot of violent people, a lot of people who are just in there to spend a lot of money on drugs and alcohol and, like, having sex with random women all the time, going around to different places that suck, and having lots of sex because you have nothing better to do. That's generally what it's painted as to me from everyone I've heard talk about the military living in a military town. When I worked at Target, like, half the people I worked with were former military, most of whom had horror stories about it, and I mean, this is the result. They're now working at Target afterwards, so a lot of that's because they made bad decisions. My ex-girlfriend was in the Air Force, and she had been making pretty good money, but was blowing through it at the same rate, because she lived in the middle of bumfuck Montana, where, because they station you wherever they want to put you. You don't live near anybody you have to work for days out of the week, and then you go home and just spend all your money on bullshit so that you can have some emotional catharsis, I guess. I've not known anyone who joined the military and seemed like they were better off for it. It's a job that you take because you don't know what to do with yourself, but you could take any job for that reason. And I know that it sounds pretty, and, like, they're like, oh, you'll see the world and get all these long-term benefits. Do you want to live under, like, constant absolute authority of someone, I can't even like begin to imagine myself in the military. Like I would I can't handle authority. Like if somebody tries to tell me what to do, I'm not going to do it. So there's just no way I would survive in that environment. You know, not to mention I wouldn't be able to even qualify because I'm just not physically fit enough. Um, you know, I know it does some good things for some people. My dad was in the Navy for 6 years. He considers himself to have picked up a lot of discipline, and he appreciates having seen the world and things like that. But you know, most of his stories are about getting in fistfights with crazy people and going to insane parties in the Philippines and shit. And like, I generally don't think that he conveys it as like a great environment. It's like it was good for him because he had just like my other friends who joined a really shitty life, and it was an easy out, you know, and like that worked for him because he didn't know what else he was going to do with his life. So I guess the kind of people who would benefit from the military are the kind of people who are going to end up in there one way or another, because they, if you have that level of just, you know, trouble in your life and not another way that you know of to get out of it, you're just going to take that as a matter of course. But I consider that to be a deceitful and evil system, and I don't approve of it. So, yeah, there you go. Edgy take on the military, I guess.